Hey there, Josh Hart here, representing backcountry hunters and anglers, more specifically, the Vermont section of the New England chapter. I'm here on public lands during the C-19 era, and just like many of you, my life has been turned upside down by this really unexpected event, and certainly backcountry hunters and anglers have been adapting accordingly, but also have been caught off guard, not expecting an event of this magnitude to affect our lives and our mission as much as it has. I was fortunate to be raised here in the Green Mountains by parents who operated a wilderness living and survival school and who instilled the ethos that one's connection to the natural world was not one where someone looked at a landscape through a human-made lens, but rather immersed themselves into the woods and humbled themselves to listen to the lessons of the forest, and thus incorporating them not only in an authentic way in the forest, but in modern society. I didn't have any form of electricity or conventional running water as I grew up, and it is those things that carried me through my life. I am a career outdoor educator. I have done so for the entirety of my life, and today I have founded a outdoor-based high school, and I'm also a professor of outdoor education at Castleton University in Castleton, Vermont. You see, when you reach a point in your life and you recognize that so much of your existence is built upon a connection to a natural place, it is only the only plausible evolution of that is to want to protect, to conserve those places. And I'm very thankful to have stumbled across backcountry hunters and anglers. I spend an incredible amount of time under the stars in places like this, still to this day, and I have a small homestead where I raise a family and my own food, and this is all done under the premise that I am convinced that being a contented person has to do with one's ability to proclaim freedom. And freedom comes not without responsibility, but also comes with knowledge. Although Leopold said, "To what avail is 40 freedoms without a blank spot on the map?" So I've recognized that in order to enact one's freedom, which to me is options, which to me is the ability to synthesize information that you have absorbed, you have to have a place in which to do that. And that place is the blank spot on the map, or open lands. I became involved in a host of conservation groups and environmental groups, but when I came across backcountry hunters and anglers, it was like a breath of fresh air. Backcountry Hunters and Anglers is a very authentic organization that is charged itself with promoting a Leopoldian ideal of the North American conservation model, where the human experience is not somehow separate from a landscape, but the best way to steward over a landscape is to, in fact, recognize that society is a part of the ecological matrix. So BHA is dedicated to promoting the conservation of public lands and protecting them simultaneously. It also is very approachable in the sense that it recognizes that there are many people in our society today who come from environments where hunting, fishing was not a part of growing up. And so BHA is very approachable and focused on education and educating those that want to live closer to their landscapes. It also ensures that before the harvest of a plant or an animal, that again, Leopoldian ethic of sustainable and scientifically based harvest is number one on the list when one is considering the consumption of something within a wild landscape. So here I am today. Been real lucky today. I went for a walk and was able to gather some fiddleheads here, and I was able to pick up some wild leeks, or ramps as people call them now. I was able to grab my first morels of the season. Here's what we call a black morel, and some wild ginger, some nettle shoots, fresh nettle shoots, and some cutleaf toothwort or wild horseradish. I also was able to get a little bit of chaga here, and I'm able to cook that here in a reflector oven in front of my fire, where I've got some chaga tea brewing. And I also have some wild turkey cutlets that are marinated and then sauteed in wild ginger and wild horseradish, and then fiddleheads that have nettles as well as morels, and they are topped with some melted Vermont cheddar cheese. So, you know, for me, this COVID-19 issue has been a challenge, just like I'm sure it has been for many of you. But it's really reinforced that idea of living as closely to the landscape as possible. We have been kind of exposed by this situation where we recognize that we have in many ways adopted a lifestyle where we've become disconnected from our consumption or maybe even our landscapes. And I know many of you feel that way as well, because at BHA we have a lot of increased interest of people learning these types of skills, and personally I have a lot of people who are interested in learning these types of skills. So when I think of the word sustainability and I attempt to promote sustainability on my own time frame and within my own abilities, I recognize that sustainability is something that is truly promoted by the backcountry hunters and anglers, and something that I strive to adhere to, in that when we really boil it all down and we think about why we're here, what we're doing here, and how we're going to remain sustainable, especially in times of stress such as right now, it seems that retaining a palpable connection to the natural landscape is paramount on the list. So I strongly consider, I would ask you to strongly consider looking up backcountry hunters and anglers if this is the kind of lifestyle or philosophy that you're interested in. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And meanwhile, be on the lookout for us at BHA to adapt to these changing times, at least for the time being. And we are looking at doing some public lands cleanups and also some kind of drawing from the connections that we have and doing some virtual question and answer sessions with folks that have experience or expertise in foraging or in fly casting or in gobbler calling or in fishing on the fly or spin rodding for that matter. And we really hope that you will join us for that. We're excited to add to everybody's stoke involved in becoming closer to the natural landscape, and then recognizing that it is a huge part of our responsibility to promote and protect these landscapes in a sustainable fashion. So thanks so much for listening to me, and looks like we have a little bit of a Hendrickson hatch, so I'm going to scarf down my meal and I'm going to get out there and try to catch one of these fish. Hey, stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you in whatever capacity that may be. Be well.